Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have a female left behind spouse. Her bomb drop was January of 2019, and her MLCer has not yet left home. She says that he is a high energy replayer. So he's been at home, but in a midlife crisis for almost 3 years, 2.5 years at this point, a little bit more. She says that the alienator lives 2 doors down. And she drives by me waving and smiling, sometimes giving me the finger. She posts passive-aggressive posts on Facebook in reference to the affair without giving names. My husband won't talk about any of it ever. When I try, he goes into a rage and storms off. He denies all of it, and yet she's publicly talking about it all over town. We're financially well off. We've both worked hard to achieve our financial freedom. This is not the first time she slept with a married man, which doesn't surprise me given what you've said so far. She's accused me of being only interested in money, blah, blah, blah. My husband and I have been partners in business for over 20 years, but she is calling me a gold digger. How crazy is that when clearly it's her agenda? So I'll pause for a moment and talk about that little piece. It's not crazy in the sense that she knows it's going to work. She knows that it's getting to you. It's simply provocative. The point isn't that she believes you're a gold digger, because as you said, believing that would be crazy. But accusing you of it to get you to be provoked isn't crazy. Or to get other people's to believe it, to disparage your good name isn't crazy. Look at the political climate. It doesn't matter which side you look at, but both sides can make up things, spread them enough. And because they're spread, they get considered credible by people. The more you say it, the more people will believe it. That's part of gaslighting. And so she's just going to do it to bother you. Your job with that is to not give it energy. And if it goes so overboard that it does affect your finances or how you're getting a job or those sort of things, you could possibly consider talking to a lawyer about, would that be slander or libel? I'm not a lawyer, I don't know. That would be my question. But I would only take that step if it really got to the point where it had that sort of effect on you, because doing that is giving it energy. And for a while at least, there's I got what I wanted. I really know I bothered her because she took this step. She's paying attention to me. And if you haven't realized it yet, you have a narcissistic alienator. Alienators who are narcissistic go after the left behind, forward moving spouse. She has a bad reputation. Many people have approached me with shady stories. I'd like to know how he can't see right through her. He can. And also, why won't he admit to anything or talk about it? He lives at home but goes missing for days at a time. Why won't he admit to anything? Because he's getting away with it. Why is he getting away with it? Because he lives at home, but goes missing for days at a time. So you've sort of answered it. So here's the question that you need to answer for yourself, that I want you to think through is, what are you getting out of having him still live at home? What benefits is this giving you? Also consider the other side of that. Think about whether the situation, how it would be progressing if he were not there. Think about how it's progressing if he were there. If he weren't there, maybe you're afraid of now she'd think she really won. Well, the only problem with that is it's still giving her energy. Why does he not see right through her? It's not about that. She's narcissistic. She's using emotional blackmail. And there could be limerence going on. I don't know if there's limerence going on or not. He's still at home. But she's controlling. She could be using other forms, not just the blackmail could be very strong. He might be afraid. Now, that doesn't mean he realizes any of that. He might be in a situation where he's trapped, but don't consider that he's a victim then. There's a control, but it's, oh, you know you love me, don't you? Control that looks toward him as, oh, I really need you, not the blackmail of, if you go if you don't come back to me, I'm going to tell your wife and out you. It's not that kind of threat. Emotional blackmail is more subtle. It preys on a person's need to be a rescuer. It preys on a person's need to be a people pleaser. It preys on their needs to avoid feeling guilt and shame. And what it does is it uses what Susan Forward, the author of the book Emotional Blackmail, calls fog: fear, obligation, and guilt. There's an obligation. You should be here with me because I need you. If you don't come back to me, here's what the alienator did to Chuck in this situation is, if I have something wrong with me on my brain, and if you don't come back to me, I won't get it fixed and I'll die. He was afraid that she was going to die. She told him that he was obligated because it was his fault that she was having problems because of all the stress and things that it had caused her. Fear, obligation, and guilt. And your husband may be living in that. Now, I don't know, you haven't said anything really about him other than that he's avoiding the topic. Standard avoidance, avoidance, avoidance. My assumption with that is that there's a lot of anger, whether it's seething underneath or just on top, because he won't talk about it. And of course he won't talk about it. If you continue to push, he's going to continue to resist. So instead of what you're doing is you're accepting this behavior. Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're accepting it. And you're trying not to be the one to kick him out. I get it. The problem is you're going into year 3 pretty soon. And not kicking them out is a great thing to work on in the beginning because we want them to make the choice. We want them to not put that on us because then they're going to turn out we're the bad guy. But there also comes a time where it turns into being a doormat. And by allowing him to have these 2 lives, one with you and one with her, where he disappears, then you're teaching him how to treat you. Why does he do it? Because you've taught him that it's okay. You're in a business, and I know you don't want to affect your business. You want to keep a good working relationship, so you're trying not to rock the boat. But the boat's taking on water. And so you've got to figure out how you're going to handle this. Running a business with your spouse and having your spouse in a midlife crisis and affair and sometimes being the one that's left and living somewhere else, it's not uncommon. I'm not saying that that situation is more prone to a midlife crisis. It's just that I see it all the time. I see a lot of the left behind spouses who are in business together with their spouse. And you can have that, they can hold that over you because you're so afraid of what might happen to the business. But it's not going to get any better. So you have some decisions that you have to think about and you have to make. Okay? I'm sorry if this wasn't helpful because I don't think that the news was really good, but I hope that it explains what might be happening. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.